Welcome back to another episode of the Vegan Squad Pod. I'm the Bodybuilding Vegan, and I am joined by Alex Nearis, aka your Vegan Mentor One, and Jordan, Strength Athlete Cancer. And today, we're going to cover the very easy, simple, fast topic of how to change or how to save the world. All right,
Super
Alex.
simple.
Oh Lord. So, Alex, you've been brainstorming all night. You've figured out the answer. Please enlighten all of us right now.
I don't know if I figured out the answer, but I feel like getting together the leaders of positive change in the world all together and brainstorming all together will help change the world. I think there's a lot of individuals out there that have pushed the needle forward in the right direction. And yeah, I think that there hasn't been like a unison of everyone all at once. Like, I don't know, I made the example to John yesterday that scientists got together from all over the world to build the atomic bomb, which is not, a positive change, but they did bring scientists from all over the world to create this new thing. And I don't feel that we've done that really in the vegan world yet, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, in business, you have business masterminds. In health and fitness, you have fitness masterminds. So, yeah, I think we should be the leaders on that and have a vegan mastermind, set up a conference, and let's all get in a room and let's hash it out.
Vegan mastermind. That sounds like almost like a villain from a movie.
It's okay though. We're all superheroes though, trying to spread compassion and help save animals and help people be healthier and help save the environment.
Very much so.
Yeah. It's crazy to me how much brainwashing there is in the society. Like, I don't know, just about like animal agriculture, the environmental destruction and climate change. Like, there's literally a countdown clock in New York that is counting down the amount of time we have until climate change is irreversible. And even with that huge number, literally counting down on a daily basis, I feel like a lot of people like aren't concerned about it. And even like politicians are not listening to scientists who are proving that this is happening and we need to do something about it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a big problem. It's hard too when like you can do things for less cost right now that are worse for the environment, and realistically you won't really truly pay the penalties for that within your lifetime. The quote that really stuck by me is that we don't inherit the world from our parents, we borrow it from our children. I think when you start to look at it that way, it starts to kind of put things in perspective on like, what should you be doing with your life? I think Alex's plan in a nutshell is to reach out to like a couple hundred of the most influential, biggest accounts, biggest people making change, people from different areas, like potentially Joey Carbstrong, because I know he does a lot with legislation and pushing to get laws passed that help animals and help the environment, but then also potentially connecting with other people that are on the leading side of technologies or new things in areas that we don't even know about. And so I told Alex, like, let's play this out. Like, best case scenario, you're basically God for a day. You get what you want. You get 200 people in front of you on a Zoom call ready to save the world. And then it's like, what do you say? I don't know what to say. It's impossible. We're not kind of like the way I understand computers. Like 200 computers could basically exchange information at once, but we're slow humans, so we can only listen to one at a time and try and assimilate that information. So funny enough, I was like, well, maybe we just keep doing this podcast and we keep bringing on those highly knowledgeable people. Like we had Gary Yourofsky on, thanks to some snowstorms and Wi-Fi. It was not easy to hear some of what he was saying, so we didn't release all of it, but he basically said if you're an activist, you can reach out to local universities, start sending out emails to professors. You might have to send 100 emails, but 4 or 5 of the professors will let you come speak. And that's how he did his 18-year tour. And it's like, I didn't know that. And it's like, what else do we not know that someone else has figured out? It's almost like we're all holding a little piece of the puzzle, but if we could all put our pieces down together, our magnitude of impact would be so much greater. So, yeah. how to save the world. I mean, I think we all need to keep doing what we can as individuals, but the more we can band together and group together. And I was talking with Alex yesterday as well. I think Vegan Squad as a whole, it is coaching right now. That is what we do. That's our MO. That's our business model. But through coaching, we learn a lot. We learn a lot about individuals. I mean, Alex, I've worked with you. Jordan, I'm working with you right now. You as a coach are able to get closer to your clients, learn things about them, learn from them, not just teach them. And I think we get a very strong sense of connection with what we're building. So as we can grow this out and reach larger audiences and learn from more people and funnel that information up to the top, then we can make educated and informed decisions about where we want to go. Before I spend the whole podcast rambling, because we're not going to take forever today, I want to circle back to your guys' stories of going vegan, and kind of dissect that a little bit, at least for myself. So Jordan, when you first went down this path, it was more so for health originally, and then you started to find out about what happened to animals through factory farming, etc. Correct?
Yeah, it was. So I have a heart arrhythmia, and my grandpa died in front of me of a heart attack when I was 4. My other grandfather passed away of a heart attack in his sleep before I was born. I witnessed my father die in front of me later on in life of a heart attack. So my mom had a silent heart attack. My family's heart history is horrendous, and it's hereditary. And when I saw that my cholesterol was at a specific level, I said, there's something that I need to do, because I had a young daughter at the time. So I did my research, and I watched Forks Over Knives, which just came out concurrently at that specific time. And I got in touch with a doctor, a cardiologist, plant-based, that we're actually going to be interviewing on this podcast, Dr. Joel Kahn, who is in What the Health. And I had a consultation with him, and he took a look at my numbers. He prescribed specific tests, and he recommended that I go plant-based. And I did, and my numbers decreased. Other specific biomarkers increased. My health was exponentially better. My energy levels were so much higher. So I felt so much better. I wasn't vegan at the time because I still was ignorant to the plight of the animals. And I didn't understand what it is that they were going through. But yes, I was plant-based because of that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, brother. Very powerful lessons that have been just thrust upon you, even at a very young age, about our own mortality and hopefully also what we can do to shape this world that we're in while we're here. So it started for you, and I think that's how it has to be. I mean, for everyone, and not just whether they go plant-based or whether they go vegan. I think it always has to start for you, but then I think it eventually kind of shifts. Once you learned about the animals, it became more than just you, correct?
Very much so. When I listened to Gary Yourofsky's speech, first of all, I started watching a lot of your content about the animals, which got me interested in learning more. And then I started doing my research, and I watched Jessica, who's a part of the Vegan Squad as well. And then I started to watch some documentaries, but it was Gary Yourofsky's best speech ever that really kind of struck a chord with my heart on what it is that we're doing from an oppression standpoint to our brother and sister animals. And I say brother and sister animals because they are sentient beings just like us. I'm a dog lover. I'm a cat lover. I have 4 rescues myself, and I connect with them so much. And I view them at the time, or I viewed them differently than I did a cow or a pig or a chicken. And yeah, once I realized what it is that we're actually doing, we're kidnapping, we're torturing, we're raping, we're murdering these specific animals as well as their children, it hit something in me that I didn't know existed. And my heart just opened. And yeah, just this empathy and this sympathy just poured out of me. I can't explain it because words will not give it justice. And from that moment on, I just said, you know what? They're voiceless. I have a loud voice, and I'm going to use it for a very specific purpose. And that's to really be there for them in any way that I can, because they are, part of our life. Part of me is very spiritual and religious. And, if you go back to the beginning of the Bible with respect to Noah's Ark, God didn't save humans. God saved animals for a specific purpose. So I want to do them justice. So, yeah.
Wow. Powerful as well there. Thank you, brother. So I think like potentially one of the scariest things that I've considered is, I don't know, we go to whatever's next and we realize that our interpretation of the world, our consciousness, our ability to understand and interact with the world is exactly identical to the animals.
Yeah.
Like, and I think when you say brother and sister, it's almost like, imagine if like reincarnation was real. Some people believe this, some people don't. I don't necessarily believe it's exactly like that, but imagine if you were a human trapped inside the body of a cow and going through that. It's so difficult to comprehend. And so same for you, Alex, right? You found environmentalism first, which I think is actually unique and a little bit interesting there. Walk me through like when you started to become aware of the environment and then how that influenced your vegan journey.
Yeah, I think I was always really conscious, like through high school, at least as far as I remember. I was pretty conscious about like not using plastic bags and using a reusable water bottle. And like I asked my dad if we could put a water filter in the house because he kept buying bottled water for whatever reason. So yeah, I feel like I've always had a very high sense of empathy for the world and animals, but like Jordan, I was blind to what animals experienced, and that came later in my vegan journey. But yeah, I had the same preconceived notions about vegans that a lot of people have. Like they're weak, they're skinny, they're delusional, they're brainwashed. So I was very averse to vegans, even though I literally had never met a vegan before. And then when I learned about the environment, coming from that background, I guess, or like empathy for the environment, I just saw so much destruction, and I was just shocked that, I was spending all this time figuring out ways to be more eco-friendly, like with water bottles and using less plastic, but it's such a small effect on the environment compared to farming 96 billion animals a year and all of the methane that they release and all of the trees that need to be cut down, including, and all the animals who are in those trees killed. Like just learning about that it's one of the leading causes of species extinction, water pollution, air pollution, displacing communities that might live near those areas, like in the Amazon rainforest. I was just really upset that no one had ever told me that. And as I continued to do more research on it, kind of like Jordan, I started seeing the animal rights aspect. And even before that, I started feeling the health difference as well with just being plant-based for a couple of weeks. But yeah, the animals are like the first time that I empathized with an animal, because I was kind of like Jordan too. Like I had love for dogs, not so much a cat lover up until recently, but I did see them as like different than the animals that we eat. Like I never considered that a chicken leg is like a chicken's leg. But yeah, the first time that I empathized with an animal was through a PETA student organization Zoom that they were doing like in the beginning of COVID. And they were talking about the Tiger King Netflix series that was going on. Like at that time when it first got released, everybody was talking about like the drama between Carol Baskins and Joe Exotic. But in this meeting, they talked about the tigers and the little baby cubs that are put into these photo circles at like Joe Exotic's, tiger ring or zoo or whatever. But yeah, they showed like pictures and videos of those little tigers being put into a circle of people, and people would pick up the cub and take pictures with him or her. And I just saw like so much fear in that baby's eyes. And that was the first time that I really connected with an animal and like saw their soul. So yeah, that started opening the door for me of like learning more about the animal agriculture industry and other ways that we use animals, like using down feathers from geese and ducks for clothing and for pillows and for blankets, and like leather industry, cosmetics. And yeah, my heart just hurts for all of those souls that are hurt in the process. And it's just so unnecessary for us to do that. There's so many other options now. So yeah, yeah, and to the point of seeing them as like brothers and sisters, and seeing the human soul inside, like John, you said, if you imagine being a human trapped inside a cow's body, I feel like it's just like imagining a soul being like trapped in a environment that they don't want to be in. We don't even have to imagine them as like humans. Like at the core of our bodies, we're all just souls. So I think it's just empathizing with the soul behind the eyes. Like if you look into an animal's eyes or anybody's eyes, you can see the soul within them. So yeah, bit of a ramble, but that was my journey. And I agree. I think that there's a lot of ways to enter into veganism, but I think at the root is for the animals. Everything else is just a bonus.
I agree. I think my whole direction I was going with this is like we wake up over time. It's not. It's never. It's. I don't think it's ever overnight immediately for anyone. Um, in my own journey, there were times where I felt like I was vegan before I even knew that that was a word. I always felt like I cared about animals. Obviously, my eating actions didn't quite reflect that. Um, but what my whole point is here is like, I feel like I went vegan for myself. Like, of course, I felt like some guilt about being part of the problem, about contributing directly to animal deaths, etc. But I feel like when I went vegan, it was almost just to be like, hey, I'm stepping out. I'm not part of this problem. This no longer concerns me. I'm not killing any animals. End of story. And I wonder why that was my uh, direction to head in. I think a large part of that would probably be that I was the only vegan I knew. I went vegan through a PETA magazine, did not have any other substantial influential players in my life to kind of guide me or give me a playbook or even let me know what I could do. And being somewhat isolated, the only vegan that I knew for a very long time, I just didn't feel very encouraged to speak up. I think anyone who's listening to this that's vegan has had that time where they try and talk to somebody and then they get put down, or it gets like thrown at them like, oh, you're vegan, who of course, you know, you let everybody know, like we're basically shunned in society and told not to speak up because what we say makes people uncomfortable. And I feel like I went vegan for myself, but it wasn't really for the animals until I started speaking about it many years later. And I feel like that is another wake up or another shift to where I started to realize it's not okay just to be against violence and death of animals from my own hand, but also it's not okay to just be silent about it either. I think if you are listening to this, and this is how I think we can change the world, empowering people to find their voice and to speak up, I think that is going to be the biggest thing that we can do, is to help wake people up, not just to go vegan, but as Gary was saying, he wishes the only thing he did different with his activism was that he wished he encouraged people to become activists instead of become vegan. So it doesn't have to be extreme on the sidewalk, yelling at people, throwing blood, or anything like that. Like, it doesn't have to be that crazy. Um, I think factory farming is way more crazy than that, but I think we've got some great activists on the show right now. Like literally all three of us are wearing some sort of vegan apparel to put this out there. That's one way of finding friends and groups and having Instagram or social media pages where we can speak about this. I think those are great ways to invoke change. And by just not allowing it to just be, not being complacent, like not allowing it to just occur without saying anything. Just because you're not a part of it doesn't mean you're fixing it. And I wish that my biggest, like, if I could go back in time, I would have gone vegan probably about the same age. I mean, obviously, if I could have gone all the way back to the beginning, but I would have started speaking out a lot sooner. So I think that's one of the most effective ways that we can individually do this. Collectively, I feel like we need a strong base, like a home base. I think that's what Vegan Squad offers, both with our coaching. If somebody needs a coach or has been told, like me, that they can't build muscle without eating meat, but also just having that community, like being able to talk with Jordan or talk with Alex off air has been some of the best moments of my life, just because I feel like I'm around people that truly empathize and understand me and also agree I'm not crazy. What's going on in the world is just not okay. And that was a monologue.
You're good, bro. No, I agree. And I think another thing with activism is finding something that helps you ground and release your emotions after you do some sort of activism, or if you have a conversation with somebody. I think that it can be very draining sometimes to be an activist because you're just shunned by a lot of society, like you said, and people don't want to listen and they don't want to open their minds. And it can be really draining to think about the perfect quote unquote way to navigate the conversation to help them open their mind and keep it so that they don't get defensive, and just a lot of energy exertion, and sometimes the person still doesn't change, which is really frustrating. So finding some sort of practice like meditation or journaling, or finding your community so you can talk to somebody who does understand and who will allow you to vent and speak your truth, your mind. I think that is really important too, for just being able to unwind at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing that we could all do is we could find a way to be an activist, to speak with others, but in a language that they could connect with and they could understand. I'm 41 years old. When I was 21 years old, I was one of the youngest assistant vice presidents in Bank of America's history as a financial advisor. And people were investing 5+ with me as a 21-year-old, and I didn't have any experience with money. So what I learned at a very young age is that if you want to effectively work with another human being and have them have them invest their emotions, their feelings, everything with you, you have to be able to bring value to them and speak in a language that they understand. And I think if you're able to communicate with another human being from where they are, I think that's the perfect start. For example, my office staff last week for our staff meeting, I brought them vegan donuts because they love sweets. That's the perfect place to begin to have that conversation. If I started talking about animal injustice, they'd probably look at me like I had 5 heads. But if I start from a place where they could accept and they could really relate to, that really starts the conversation there. So I believe we all have the power to do that. We all want to speak out for the animals as loudly as we can. But when you're speaking with another person, you have to meet them at their specific level at that specific time. It's like speaking a foreign language. You can't communicate in English with someone that speaks just Chinese and vice versa. You have to be able to communicate with them at their level. So to be an activist, just meet someone where they are, understand that they may not have the knowledge or experience that you do, and that's okay. We weren't born like that. We didn't know about the animals until we were older in life. So just be able to have sympathy for them and empathy for them, and just being able to communicate with them on their level.
For sure. Yeah, I love that. And I think asking questions is okay too. I'd love to hear your perspectives too, but like, what do you know about veganism? Where do you know that protein factor opinion that you have? Like, where have you heard that about protein, or that vegans can't get enough? Or what do you know about animals and what they experience? I don't know, depending on the conversation, but I think asking questions to learn more about what the person knows is also a good start.
100%. When we do our intake, like for new clients, like, we don't just tell them what we do in the same way that you wouldn't just tell people what veganism is. We need to find out what they know and what they don't know, and what they're expecting and what they're afraid of. Sometimes maybe you detail out the best program ever, but the new client doesn't want to buy in because they have some limiting belief that it won't work for them. And so if you can find that out, then instead of making the plan better when the plan's great, you can find out how to change their mindset, or how to show them proof that these plans work. So I think you make a great point, Alex, with some of the most effective forms of activism. Like, if somebody says, I've done this before a few times, they're like, why are you vegan? I just like, well, why are you not? Like, you maybe want to give them a little bit more information first, but I do think turning it back around, you have the power in negotiating when you're the one asking the questions. And so trying to find what limiting beliefs they have, or what they've been told by society, and break that down over time with the conversation. I think, as well as all being activists, it's like a skill, just like anything else. You suck at it when you start, and you get better as you go. Jordan, I think, bringing donuts, like, you got different ways you can win people over. And I think, like, when I go to these events, we do a lot of promotion for Vegan Squad at local events, really around the United States. And my point over there is to break as many myths as we can. First, we got like the food trucks that have amazing food. So we break the myth that vegan food can't taste good. I think most people are starting to catch on now that vegan food can be healthy, but maybe some people still need that to be broken down. Then you got the people that think you can't be fit and strong while you're being vegan. And then, our team goes there and just destroys that myth. A lot of people stare at us and like, are you guys really vegan? You guys are also fit. Like, just helping break those stereotypes. And then I think also, oh, vegans are crazy. Like, well, by us being like this, I feel like it gives us a chance to prove those wrong every time that we go out in public, every time we put ourselves on social media. I also think it's a responsibility that comes with a bit of pressure. Like, I haven't outwardly had road rage in the last 15 years. Never yelled at somebody for cutting me off, or flicked somebody off, or giving someone the death stare because I've got vegan written all over my car and now on the side of my head. So even if that person deserved it, so to speak, what if somebody else saw it and they didn't see the whole thing and they just see you being a jerk? It's like, it's not just you now. It's what do you stand for that's on the line. So really having us hold our brother and vegan sisters to a bit of a higher standard is also part of this.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. A little bit of a tangent, but a term that John and I picked up from somebody we used to work with is pre-vegan. And I feel like approaching people as pre-vegans instead of non-vegans kind of helps shift that, like, my perspective, and like the energy that I show up to that conversation. If I'm just like, hey, pre-vegan, like, we're gonna educate, we're gonna learn more about them, we're gonna bust those limiting beliefs. So if that helps anybody. And I also think it's cool to use the term pre-vegan. but
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely agree, like showing up with that type of energy that's calm and friendly. And there have been a few barbers that I've talked to, because I go to a lot of different barbers because we travel, but I often talk to them about veganism because they ask me what I do for work, and I tell them. And I think like 2 or 3 people at this point have been like, you're the first vegan I've talked to that's friendly and that hasn't been like abrasive with me. I'm just like, damn, okay. So yeah, even like those conversations, like we get to set that example for people that, we're people just like them, and we're not crazy or any type of preconceived notion they might be coming to the conversation with, and we can just have a, eye to eye conversation about things, and it can be calm.
Yeah. I think we have to remember, if we're trying to help educate someone and share with them that they potentially should go vegan, or that vegan might be the right choice for them, it's easy as a vegan to start to feel like, oh, these people are cruel or insensitive or closed-minded or resistant to change. And I think some activists can get worn down and start to feel like, like basically people suck. Like, I don't like this person because they're not vegan. But like, we have to approach this as all people are good people, or all people have the ability to do good things. Because if we don't approach it with that angle, we're not going to bring the right energy into that conversation, and we're going to turn people away. So we have to almost, ask them the questions like, are you someone who loves to watch animals die? Like, does that make you happy? Is that your pastime? Is that something that fills your cup? I've not had anybody tell me that. Even people that are hunters don't say they love watching the animal die. And so if we can start there, like, okay, I agree. We're kind of the same there. And so for me, I don't want to pay for someone to kill these animals for me. Not when there's other healthier, usually more cost affordable options readily available. I feel like it's a really hard job to try and convince somebody on the spot. You can sometimes. Anonymous with Voiceless does very well to people that wear masks and then show footage of what happens to the animals, and they have people there to stand and talk to the people watching the footage to kind of explain what's going on, explain how they can get around it and away from it. But it's very difficult to be that person that's going to knock the domino over in person. But I think if you can plant the seed, like Jordan, Alex, myself, none of us went vegan the first moment we heard about animal rights. I'll put it that way. I went vegan basically the day I heard about veganism, but I had been vegetarian for 3 years prior, and it took me 6 months to go from learning about vegetarian to actually making the full commitment. So everybody's on their journey, and while it can be extremely frustrating, especially myself doing this for 20 years now, that people haven't woken up, I think that's what Gary said. Like, what made me almost cry when we had him on was he's probably helped almost 1 million people go vegan, but he couldn't get any of his friends or family to go vegan. I think that's probably the hardest part. It's like the people that are closest to us are the ones sometimes most resistant to change. But we got to keep speaking up, because it's not just for us, it's for the animals.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it comes back to that mental fortitude too, to be able to know like when to let somebody go for a period of time. If you had a conversation with somebody multiple times and they just don't want to open their minds, like, don't spend your energy on them, because it's just going to upset you every time and distract you from other people who you might make the connection with. I've experienced that multiple times with my family members and other people in my life, and I've kind of just tried to let it go. Like, I'll still cook for them and, like, show them vegan products at the store and stuff like that, but I've let it go. As much as I want to keep talking about it, I know that it's not the right time. I also think that having some sort of resource to send to people is good too. Whether that's somebody that you follow on Instagram, you can share their Instagram with them, like the Vegan Squad page, or I don't know, somebody else that you look up to. But I've created like a 3-step guide to going vegan and a guide to vegan protein. So if I have a conversation with somebody about that, I like to send them. I've been trying to get in the practice of sending them that resource, so at least they're walking away and it's not just like, okay, that we had this conversation, they can maybe forget about it, but they actually have more things to go and research for themselves and into what we talked about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think future episodes we could mentally bookmark this, but I think one episode we should do defending all arguments against veganism. That would be great, because there's so many that we could help people with. I also think oh man, I just had something else to say to you, Alex. I just forgot it. But I think we could kind of like you said, yes, knowing kind of when to pick your battles. Not so much in the sense that each battle is not important, but we are all finite resources. We only have so much time on this planet. We only have that's the one thing that none of us can really seem to find a way to buy more of. Like, we're all going to be here at best probably 100 years. One quote, and I want to try and pack as much value into these as possible. These things have been valuable for me. I listen to Alex Hormozy a bit, and a very big businessman and lots of like mindset work. And he goes on one of these episodes and he's like, you guys know anybody that's just like in a bad mood all the time for no reason? And I think we all know somebody kind of like that. And he's like, what if you're just in a good mood all the time for no reason? Because if you can be in a bad mood for no reason, why not be in a good mood for no reason? And that's what I try to do every single day. There's days where I feel like being in a bad mood, and there are days where I end up in a bad mood. But anything I can do to trick myself out of that and pull myself back into where we're at right now and have a good mood. Because if you got 100 more conversations or 100 more people to talk to, or even one, and you can do it with a good mood, I think you're going to get further. And I think you're going to enjoy the process more. And I think you're going to be less likely to get burnt out. So trying to find a good mood, even when you have no reason to do so, is a big part. I think what we can do for the rest of this episode, be a little bit of a time capsule for us, very early on, but like, let's say we get 100 episodes deep. I think by then we should have a good idea of how we're going to most effectively change the world. But what do we collectively think as of this moment would be the best ideas?
That's a great question.
Probably just having more conversations with people. And I also think, I don't know what it is right now, but somehow getting veganism more into legislation or like into the political angle of things. But yeah, I think just to me, talking about it, something with legislation, and also just continuing to buy vegan products and helping uh, create pour into that supply and demand for vegan products.
Yeah, I kind of second that. You know, again, it's just meeting people where they are. Maybe something like Meatless Mondays, you know, could be huge. It's a start for them. So something that just connects with others. And Alex, I loved what you said from a mental fortitude standpoint, because I completely agree. It's if we could, as individuals, first find our whys. What is more important than us? What is more important than us being rejected in a conversation with another person about veganism? If we could really connect with that and we could develop that as our foundation, then moving forward, you know, I think only positive ideas are going to flow directly from that. If we're scared of those conversations, or if we're going to go in those conversations being aggressive, I don't think that they're going to be extremely fruitful. So if we could find that why, and you're right, John, if we could come with a positive mental attitude, then I think that's the beginning where everything flows from.
100%. Yeah. Thank you for saying all that. And again, like I think just coming back to practices that help you create that mental fortitude, practices that help you get into a better mood, like whether that's working out or doing something physical or listening to music, doing meditation, journaling, talking to somebody that relates and can help you see the light or remind you of that why. Yeah, I think it'll just help you keep going further. Thank you. I agree.
Yeah.
Good point, Alex. I think bodybuilding for me has helped a lot, like a lot more than I would have ever realized, because like if you become selfish to become a bodybuilder, then you do things like you go to bed on time, you make sure you eat enough each day, you do physical activity each day, you're constantly measuring progress and tracking and working to improve. And then if those bleed out into the rest of your life, you're already taking care of yourself, then you have a lot left in your cup to give back to others.
Yeah.
So I think encouraging people to learn to love themselves. Once that's done, once you can learn to love yourself, then I think it's a lot easier to learn to love animals, or at least respect them and fight for them. And I think the other big piece of the puzzle is encouraging all these people that are currently vegan right now to speak a little bit more, to speak a little bit louder, even to do the actions like Jordan bringing the vegan donuts. That's a great way to create a bridge. And I think, at least for me, I've done this for so long, I've kind of created a vegan bubble for myself, and I love my bubble. It's a little bit more uncomfortable to go outside of that bubble, but I have to remember that if we don't go outside the bubble, you know, I'm not helping any other vegans go vegan by feeding them vegan donuts. It's more important to take it to the other people. I think a great like action item, if you're vegan and listening to this, like done this numbers of times. If I have a friend that's not vegan and they want to grab lunch, they want to grab dinner, hey, it's my treat, but we're going to a vegan spot. And then it's like they still get to go, they get to enjoy a meal, and they get to try something new. And 100% of what you spend goes to that vegan business. And I think that's actually where I want to close this out. I think the way that we get the world to go vegan is through business. I really do. If bananas cost more than beef per pound, all the beef plants would shut down and grow banana trees. They'd find a way, even if they had to build banana tree warehouses. Like, if we can find a way to make the demand for plant-based products higher than the current demand for animal-based products, we'll see a switch. I think it's not going to be the whole world goes vegan overnight. It's not even going to be the world goes vegan 1%, 2%, 3%. It's going to be regular people that aren't yet vegan, pre-vegans, that are like, oh, I can drink almond milk instead of cow's milk. Oh, I can do some Beyond Beef instead of ground beef. It's going to be those actions that are going to be painfully slow at a snail's pace, but over time, I think our best shot. And that was the other last thing for business. Like, I try to support vegan businesses everywhere I can. When I go to get a new tattoo or something, I do find now a vegan artist. And because I know 100% of what I pay them goes back into their pocket to go buy other vegan products. So anytime that I can now with business, I support a vegan business, and I let people know that too when they're applying to work with our coaches. If they're like, well, my last coach isn't vegan, or the coach I'm working with right now isn't vegan, it's like, well, did you know everybody on the Vegan Squad coaching team is a vegan coach? So 100% of what you're paying them is going back to another vegan that's going to spend money for other vegans. It's like, if we can work together and build these webs and these connections and be unified under one roof, then I think we'll have the power to make lasting change. So that's where I sit right now. After we interview another 100 experts and see, maybe there's some other ways, but I think this is a good start.
And I know this is a, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
I know this is a shameless plug, but I think having a podcast for vegans by vegans is huge. Community, like the Vegan Squad community, is something that brings us all together. Think about the 2024 presidential race. I think it was won because there was someone, a candidate, that was willing to go on different podcasts and speak with different tribes. And there was one that was unwilling, that's stuck in their bubble. I think that was the unique difference that, and that's why we have the presidency that we have right now. So I think this podcast could really be a huge outlet for other vegans to get together. And we might not have the best ideas, and that's okay. But there may be someone else that does. And they're going to find us through this podcast or through the Vegan Squad community, and they could share their ideas with us. But I all think it starts with a by vegan for vegan podcast. So I know it's a shameless plug, but I think it's a great start.
Hey, I mean, let's plug good things, right? We're all here to help change the world. Like, we're literally all working for this. Myself and Alex are full-time with the Vegan Squad team right now. And Jordan, you're hopefully going to be full-time here by the end of this year. That's the goal. That's what we're working towards. The more people, that's the other thing, the more people we can have working full-time positions towards making the world go vegan, instead of working for other restaurants or other jobs. Like, if we're got more people in this vegan sector working for this full-time, I think this is how we go. And this is how we make it happen. And so, yeah, I mean, the people that are listening, they have the power, right? Like, if we're just here and nobody shows up, can't do a whole lot with it. But the people that are listening, they can be activists, they can share this. And maybe it's a shameless plug, but I share things that are valuable. Like, I just shared that Alex Hormozi quote. And if I find value in it, I share it with other people. So other people can support us and do that as well. I think it's gonna be a fun ride, guys. Let's get another 100 in, and then we'll do a recap and see where we're at.
Yeah, excited.
Let's do it. I love it. I'm happy to talk about all this today.
Me too. All right. Any other closing words? Last words of wisdom, advice?
Let's change the world.
Change the world. One vegan at a time.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, guys.
Hell yeah. All right. Vegan Squad.